Lesley Tao, and I'm a property entrepreneur based in Cambridge. I got into property investing because I had a panic attack at 30. I was working for a law firm. I had great bosses, great colleagues, but yet I felt something was missing. My 20s just whizzed by like that. I was scared that my 30s was going to whiz by just as fast and I'll still be in the same office. So I felt like I needed a change. I had to do something. I knew I always wanted to get into property because my family are into property, but I never really got into it until I had the panic attack. So that night, instead of going out for drinks, I went home and I dug up the Rich Dad Poor Dad book by Robert Kiyosaki from under my bed, which was collecting dust, read it from page to page, and just decided then and there, let's start this journey now. So I read the book and made a plan of how many properties I wanted to buy that year, and I wanted to go as fast as I could. I ended up purchasing 4 properties in Dubai that year. I JV'd, joint ventured with some family and friends to raise the initial deposit, and we leveraged off my salary to purchase these properties. So everything was going quite well, and then I ran into trouble when I was trying to buy my 5th property. It was a hotel apartment and it was off plan. What happened was, even though I'm a lawyer and I did my due diligence, I put a big deposit down to secure this property, and the developer ran off with the money. So what I learned from that was essentially that there's always a solution to a problem and you should utilize your negotiation skills. So in this scenario, we managed to find a win-win situation for all parties. The most important thing for me at that point was to make sure friends and family's investments were safe. So we managed to achieve that, but there was a lot of work involved. I suppose I would never buy an off-plan property again unless I was in control or my team were in control of that scenario. What happened next? Rent to rent happened next. I looked in my little pot of investment monies and there wasn't much there. Okay, there wasn't enough to keep on purchasing houses, putting deposits down. So essentially, I built a small rent to rent portfolio in Dubai, and because the cash flow was so high in terms of net profits I was yielding, I was able to leave my job. So from start to finish, I became financially free the first time round in 2 years. I moved back to the UK in January 2018, so last year. And the reason that prompted the move back was because after I reached my financial freedom in Dubai, I got married and everything was going really well. And then in 2017, I had a few miscarriages, which, to be honest, knocked the wind out of me for a bit. I know it's a bit more personal, but I think it's important to talk about these things. So November 2017 was a pretty horrible month, okay, and I was devastated. I'm quite a strong person, but I just needed to come back home, and my family are based in the UK in Cambridge. So essentially I came back for Christmas and New Year's, and I just didn't go back to Dubai. So I came back to the UK and I decided to build up a property portfolio again from scratch. So I wanted to utilize the rent-to-rent strategy, and what I did was book myself onto some education and some courses in England. And the great thing about the UK is that you have some courses available, whereas in Dubai there wasn't any property training. It was just, you know, learning through experience. So that was great. So I went on some training and then I decided to take action. So I was doing a lot of networking. I was trying to get my first couple of properties on. So networking with landlords, with agents. I was walking up and down the street seeing where there was a to let sign. The biggest success for me is that I was able to network my community. In Cambridge is quite a big Chinese community, so I was able to tap into that market. I got the keys to my first 2 properties in March. One was a house which I converted into a mini HMO, and one was a 2-bed apartment in the city centre of Cambridge. I hadn't had experience with doing rent to SAs then, so it was my first service accommodation apartment. The cash flow was just so high that it outperformed the mini mo by double. So essentially, within the 2nd month, I became financially free. I wanted to reach £10,000 net cash flow as soon as possible, so that's what I set about doing. We got on more properties, and especially houses on a service accommodation basis seemed to bring in a lot of cash flow. I was able to reach my goals of £10,000 net within a 6-month period. We've got a few things in the pipeline. We've got 3 property purchases going through, which we're redeveloping. I've done a title split on the land. We're going to be building a small block of flats, and I'm waiting on a landlord to finish his development on a bed and breakfast so we can take it over and run that on a rent-to-rent basis. It's been a pretty crazy journey so far, busy year. I've been providing training to people who want to learn about rent-to-rent, who want to just get on the property ladder without taking too much risk. And it's a passion of mine actually, because I want to make sure everyone's doing it legally and in compliance. And I've also got a bunch of mentees on, so that's been quite fun. And obviously, Matteo in the belly needs to come out. Hi guys. So one of the questions that I get asked the most is, what is rent-to-rent? Well, rent-to-rent is a property strategy whereby, let's say you will rent a property from a landlord, whether it's a house or an apartment, and then you would rent it out again to a guest or a tenant. Rent-to-rent and subleasing is not illegal. However, you need to make sure that you've got the right documentation and contracts in place. And if you have no experience with a rent-to-rent operation, you need to get specialist advice on this. So throughout these videos, you're going to hear me make reference to HMOs and SAs. HMO stands for Housing of Multiple Occupancy, which is essentially a share house. So for example, you have a bunch of people that hire or rent a room for the month in that house, and they share the facilities such as the kitchen and the toilets. So that's an HMO/share a house. An SA stands for service accommodation, and this can come in a form of an apartment, a house, a boat, even a bus. And what this is a home away from home, but with hotel facilities. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon. If you want to hear more about these topics that I'm talking about, click subscribe now. And if you want me to cover anything in my future videos, just let me know in the comment section below. Thank you.